Hello! London, make some noise! Woo! Folks, let's not waste time here. Let's bring out the lady of the moment, okay? Please put your hands together and make a huge amount of noise for the woman of the hour, Kristian Nairn! Woo! Here she is.
Hi guys. Oh my God. Hi.
Look at all of you. Have we got any Our Flag cosplayers in? Give me a cheer if you're here in Game of Thrones cosplay, anyone?
Oh wow.
Our Flag wins. Our Flag wins.
Read the room.
Kristian.
Hi Nathan.
Hi, baby. How the hell are you doing?
I'm okay. It's been an intense weekend.
Yeah, tell us about your weekend.
Well, I was here on Friday, and then I drove to Newcastle to do Newcastle Comic Con, and then I came back here for today.
God damn.
Driving. I didn't drive myself, by the way. Don't feel sorry for me. I was asleep in the back seat. But apart from that, it was quite tiring, but I'm very happy to be here, guys. Thank you.
Woo! Ow! Some people are born to be driven, do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Although you've driven me quite a lot. Kristian's the most shocking thing about Kristian, the gayest bitch in the world, excellent driver. Who'd have thought it? Do you know what I mean? It's beautiful stuff.
I have lots of hidden skills. They're really well hidden.
So, Kristian, we are here today to talk about your absolutely beautiful memoir that I've been plugging for quite some time. I've been the biggest fan
really
before I
have.
even read the thing.
Yeah, thank you for that, by the way.
Beyond the Throne, make some noise. Now listen, here's how this is going to work. I should have said this up top. We're going to chat for a while, we're going to girl out, and then we're going to have about maybe 15 minutes at the end, 10, 15 minutes at the end for some audience questions. So get thinking of your questions now. I'll let you know when it's time to queue up at the mic. Sound good? Fierce, love it. Look at this, look how professional I am.
I know, I'm so
Little
shocked.
cards and everything. I learnt to read just for this.
Thank you, Nathan.
Kristian, I read the book, I absolutely loved it.
Thank you.
I
You have read it.
I have read it, kind of. No, I absolutely. I finished it while I was in Italy, brag, and it's such a stunning book. It's so. I want to tell you what really moved me about the book. I cried reading it. What I loved about it was that I feel like I know you quite well, but I think what comes across so profoundly when you read the book is you have lived a life, bitch. You have lived a wild fucking life.
I guess I have, and for the same of you, everybody here, we all have lived a life, but I never thought it was worth writing down until it was pointed out to me a few times. But yeah, you don't really see yourself as having lived a life. I just have survived every day, you know, but it's the same for everybody. And that's kind of what I wanted to get across in the book. It's not just me who went through imposter syndrome. It's not just me who doubts yourself when you have a new job and a new career. We're all the same, and we all can conquer that.
Yeah, 100%. I think what's fascinating about you as well that really came across, and I think for anyone, give me a cheer if you've read any of the book. Finish the whole thing. Yes, love it. So I think what really comes across is that you've always lived life in the extremes. Do you know what I mean? So what I mean by that is you talk a lot about your childhood in the book, and you spent a lot of your childhood, you know, quiet, shy, retiring, a victim of a lot of people's cruelty, I think is fair to say, and then you become one of the most well-known, beloved faces on TV. You go from being this sweet, wholesome, Northern Irish farm boy to a punk rock drag queen with a drug addiction. You know, it's these extremes, these big swings, and I was so surprised reading it all over again, and I feel like I know a lot about you. Do you ever surprise yourself? Like, was there ever a bit when you were writing the book where you kind of were able to zoom out, and did any of your stories like shock you writing them? Do you know what I mean? Were you ever like, fuck, that was insane that I went through that, you know?
I still lead every day of my life surprised. I still can't believe I get to do the things I do. Although I do have the confidence to know that I can do it now, and I am good at it, but I still question why. Only into myself. I'm perfectly happy to put it out into the world now, but I think we all still question ourselves, don't we? I mean, if you didn't question yourself, what kind of douchebag would you be? I mean,
Sure. But it is a particular. I know you're saying everyone. Of course, we've all lived a life. We're all full of a lot of experiences, but you've scaled highs and been to lows that like a lot of people wouldn't relate to. So why now? Like, why did you decide now was the right time to sort of tell your story?
well, really, my manager and I I think I've told this story quite a few times, but my manager and I would be on tour when I was DJing quite a lot, and would spend time together, get to know each other, and I would be telling him these stories about my childhood and how I sort of handled certain things in my life. And he was the one who said, Kristian, you've got to write this down. This is years ago, by the way. This is maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And he put the notion, he planted the seed in my head, and I started to do it. I thought it was going to be very difficult. And there were parts that were very difficult, especially trying to, if you've read the book, I've tried to not do it chronologically, but I'm bouncing between the stories in Game of Thrones, trying to relate it to a story that happened to me in drag or something. It's quite hard to do that, but that's the only way. It's the only way I can describe my life, because when people ask me what I want to do in the future or what I really am, I don't know, and I don't care. I'm happy just to roll through life and see what happens, and as long as I'm not being a bad person and I'm having fun doing what I'm doing, I mean, what the fuck?
Yes, bitch. Yes, bitch. That is the amazing thing about reading the book as well. That thing that you describe of like, you're bouncing through different timelines and you're talking about your time on Game of Thrones, and then you're talking about your time as a drag queen, and then you're talking about your childhood. That is the experience of knowing Kristian Nairn. I'm telling you, you and Kristian are like driving to the supermarket, and suddenly he's like, yeah, so when I murdered that guy in Mongolia, and you're like, what? Kristian never murdered anyone in Mongolia. I just want to make that really clear. His manager's in the audience. But you're so full of stories. What were you most excited about? Was there a particular section of the book that you were like, I can't wait for people to read about this? And was there a particular section that you were scared of? Because it's exposing.
It is exposing. Well, I was worried about probably the drug stuff, because it's still taboo to talk about. And whereas I have come out the other side by myself, I have to say I didn't seek help. I don't advise that, by the way. I advise you to seek help if you're in that position. But just the way I operate, I was nervous to put that because I was afraid it would be picked up and the rest of the book would be ignored, because people go for sensational headlines, like my local Belfast Telegraph newspaper, the only newspaper in the world who's written a bad headline about it.
Really?
My local paper.
What did they say?
The headline, the thing they got from the book was, what was the headline? Gay Game of Thrones actor lifts lid on drug binge. That's what they got from the book. Like, yeah, whatever.
It's crazy because you're straight, so that's.
I know.
Weird.
I know. How dare they
check your facts.
me? But and then the stuff about my mum.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure it was respectful because it's mum's stuff. It's mum's story about what happened to her, and I mean, the only reason why I put it in, because it's not really my story, is because my mum and I are identical. We're so alike, and her issues became my issues, and yeah, and it affected my life hugely. So I had to write about it, and she was okay with me doing it. I definitely checked. And also, the stuff about my father and stuff, we've never met, and it's weird to think he can pick up a book. He only lives 20 miles away from me, by the way, and he can pick up a book and learn about me when I don't really think he fucking deserves to.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
Yeah. Well, I hope he does fucking read it and he realizes what an incredible life.
I mean, not everybody's born to be a parent. I get that. And he was, as far as being a father was concerned, he always paid his dues. He paid my mum and stuff. Everything was fine. But I would have liked him to have been there,
Yeah.
especially because he lives down the friggin' road.
Yeah. It's so that's what's amazing about the book is it's so honest and so vulnerable in those moments. You really feel like, as I keep saying, I know you well, but I feel like I know you even better after reading the
I have
the
to
book.
apologize then, really.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And after this, the friendship's over. No, I'm joking. Kristian, I want to talk about fashion. You talk, it's a really reoccurring theme that I picked on, like, through the book, is you talk a lot, either consciously or self-consciously, about fashion, whether it's, like, your own sense of style that you developed as a teenager, your kind of, like, grungy jeans, baggy t-shirts, and then finding your aesthetic as Revlon, your drag persona, into, like, your fabulous coat that you got to wear in Game of Thrones, or your admiration of like women's fashion in your life, or the way you dress as a DJ. I kind of want to just talk about your personal style a little bit because it's sort of amazing, and I don't know anyone who like dresses like you and thinks like you aesthetically. How has like the way that you presented yourself like changed throughout the years into like the Revlon years? You know, I want to talk about the way that you like present yourself. Talk about that for me right now.
Well, okay.
Please.
Well, growing up, I had one pair of trousers, I had one pair of shoes, like many of us yet again, because we couldn't get them in my size, and that's just the way it was. So I was never able to dress how I wanted. And it doesn't sound that important, but it kind of is. It's all about self-expression, and it used to really annoy me when I was a child. Then Revlon was born, and I had everything custom made for me, mostly by my mother, I have to say. She used to, we would fight over the length of the mini skirts, because I'd be like, I want it higher. And she'd be like, you look like a slut. And I'd be like, I don't care. That's the way I want to look. And then we'd fight and fight. And I'm just going to pull it up. You know, you might as well just make it short. But yeah, she enabled me in that way. And she would spend hours on the sewing machine with PVC. I never used traditional fabrics. Like, it was always like leather and PVC. And she's like, I hate you, Kristian. But but I feel that weirdly, I just realized this as you said it. I think Revlon has kind of influenced how I dress now.
Bitch, that's so good.
I think I'm kind of like a hybrid, somewhere in between Revlon and me, because I wear platform boots sometimes. I still wear makeup sometimes. I think that's important for everybody. You don't have to, or you can take little pieces of yourself and put it together in like a jigsaw, whether it's subconscious or not. And I think that's what I've done.
And I think what's so amazing is you talk in the book about how being, like, as you said just then, like being Revlon helped you sort of access a more confident version of yourself. You know, I love the bit where you talk about how you'd been so used to making yourself smaller, and suddenly as Revlon you were this like fucking 8 foot tall, like you stood up straight for the first time. And it's sort of amazing that. Do you feel like, I know you don't do drag anymore, and actually my favorite section of the book, for those who haven't read it, there's an amazing, amazing chapter in the book where Kristian talks about the moment he decides to stop performing in drag. It's so good. But up until that point, did you really feel like drag helped you sort of come into your own?
It was the push. It was the push out of the door, because there was actually a figurative moment as well. It was the moment when I first performed in Kremlin. It was my first night performing in front of anybody, and there was a sliding door moment there. I remember standing behind the office door, and every demon I'd had in my head was there, and they were like, don't open that door, you look ridiculous, people are going to laugh at you. And something pushed me out that door, and that was the day my life changed. I realized I could use Revlon like a shield to sort of evolve behind and sort of be part of as well. But it was hugely important, and it was a fuck you. It was a fuck you to anybody that ever told me not to do something because I look a certain way, or that was the first rebellion. It was the first rebellion of many. So, yeah.
I love it.
And it's just like, people saying it's ridiculous that you're doing drag. I'm like, yeah, and it's going to be more ridiculous by the time I get a pair of 14-inch platforms on. You know what I mean?
And it's also so amazing because it's like, you were doing drag in fucking Northern Ireland in the 90s. This was way before RuPaul's Drag Race. This was way before drag was cool and trendy and everyone was doing it. This was like back in the day in Belfast. Do you know what I mean?
You know Belfast.
I know Belfast well. My boyfriend is from there. It is, at the time, I mean, shout out to Belfast, love you, but it was maybe not the most progressive, forward-thinking place.
Well, I always say the attitude in Belfast is kind of, it's mirrored by the front door of Kremlin. Kremlin was the main venue there. I know, what a weird name for a gay venue, but Kremlin in
Especially
Belfast.
in that accent, Kremlin.
Kremlin.
You know what I mean?
Fuck off. Anyway, the front door of Kremlin used to be like a steel security door with a tiny porthole, and you had to ring to get in because there was so much trouble outside. People would be getting beaten up, that kind of thing. And about 3 years later, it turned into a glass door. And then if you go now, it's just like a big open entrance. You don't need the security anymore, and that kind of shows how it's changed there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah, it's very different there now.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then, okay, so we're talking about Revlon, we're talking about that time in your life, and of course, something really fascinating in the book is you talk about how Revlon freed you from a lot of things, but then it started to feel like that lifestyle was maybe closing in around you a little bit, and you talk really generously and candidly about your like substance abuse issues in the book. I kind of want to talk about, I promise you there's a link here, I want to talk about fantasy, because there's the great bit in the book where you sort of, when you're at the height of your kind of drug addiction problems, that you kind of sequester yourself away in the countryside, and you talk about how you took your dog and you would play hours of World of Warcraft as like a version of
That wasn't the initial
escapism.
plan. I had visions of me walking my dog along the beach in the sunlight. I was there for 6 months. I didn't even see the beach. I just played Warcraft for 6 months.
Yeah, that's correct. You don't need to go outside. Do you know what I mean? It's there.
There are
It's always
beaches in
going to be there.
Warcraft. I mean, there are beaches on the screen. That's enough for me.
And they're safer, and you don't get sand in your sandwiches, and it's better. But I remember when you say, and I quote in the book, when you talk about World of Warcraft, you say, "I've launched myself into another habit that I'm convinced also might save me." So I want to talk a little bit about the presence of kind of like fantasy in your life, you know, through playing World of Warcraft, you know, your fucking all of your tattoos, into then you end up working in the fantasy genre. You work in Game of Thrones, you work in R-Flag. What do you think it is specifically about that kind of fantasy escapism that appeals to like queer people? What is it about that like drew you in, the kind of from Revlon all the way through to like World of Warcraft saving you, through Game of Thrones, R-Flag having this huge queer fan base? What is it about that fantasy world that like appeals to particularly queer people so much?
That's a great question, which I'm thoroughly unprepared for. But, well, I can just speak for myself. I would never speak for our whole community. But
I'll speak for him. I don't give a fuck.
Okay. But as for me, yeah, the escapism was the most important. And I always identified more with female role models, female identifying role models. And I think it's the same thing. I don't know. It's just pure escapism for me. Warcraft was very important for me and got me back on track. I may have lost a few friends through it because they didn't understand, why don't you want to come out for a drink? Why do you want to play computer games? But apart from that, it was hugely positive, and I actually ended up working in the game and stuff. I have a character in the game. I've voiced a few
wild.
characters, but fantasy is hugely important, I think, to everybody. Especially the way the world is at the minute.
Oh my God.
I'm surprised fantasy is not more popular than it is, because I mean, I would happily live in Westeros or Middle Earth. You know, I always felt like I was born to be like a warrior or something, or like a knight or something. I was born in the wrong time. You know, because tell me if this is wrong, guys, but I think being a 7 foot tall almost guy, it's the only time in history where that wouldn't have been used in some way to my advantage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I almost got persecuted because of it. But, you know, that's a terrible answer. I don't really know how to answer that question.
You know, you touched on something so gorgeous there. It's that idea that, like, in those fantasy worlds, there's sort of...
that's it. Yeah,
there's no such thing as a weirdo or a freak in fantasy worlds. In magic worlds, when anything can happen and you make the rules, whether it's World of Warcraft, whether it's Game of Thrones, whatever, there's no such thing as being weird. Do you know what I mean? I wonder if that's what appealed to you. And it's the same with, like, you were obsessed with female superheroes as a kid as well, which you talk about in the book. That suddenly all of the things that might make you strange suddenly become the most interesting things about you.
Well, they're actually superpowers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I turned my hate into. You
Yeah.
know, I was like, I can't be ashamed of it anymore. I just have to push it forward and make it bigger, make yourself bigger, in fact.
Yes, bitch. Snaps for that. Do you know what I mean? I love it. I mean, you talk about that, like your childhood. You talk about that a lot in the book. You were, you got an awful lot of shit, which I think is fair to say in the book. You know, you got awful lot of shit for being different, for being tall, for being gay. Do you, and you touched on this earlier about your dad, do you ever think about those people reading the book? Do you think about those people?
No, but one did get in touch, actually.
No.
Yeah.
Exclusive, I'm obsessed.
They were just like, I never thought, and I'm so sorry. I'm ashamed of myself and stuff. And I'm like, you don't need to be ashamed of yourself. Just don't fucking do it again.
Yeah.
No, but it's in the past, and people have changed, and I totally understand that. I really do. People are completely different people now. But it was really nice to hear that, actually. I didn't need to hear it, but it was nice to hear it. Someone can see that they were a little bit out of line back in the day.
Oh my God, that is so
I didn't
mature.
expect to hear it. When I saw the name appear in my DMs, it was like, what is this going to be about? But yeah.
But I think that's what's so endlessly fascinating about you as well, is you're full as a person. Like, you've had all of these like mad experiences, all of this trauma, and yet you're so empathetic. You're such a kind person. Like, I'm full of nothing but boiling hot, raging spite for everyone who's ever been unkind to me, and I wish them nothing but ill will. And you're so kind. Like, I feel like you don't harbor resentment, really.
I don't, but it doesn't do anybody any harm apart from yourself.
Yeah, I know. Let's not therapize Nene on the panel, okay? I'm crying.
It's true, though. If you hold resentment towards people who have harmed you, I think you can hold it in your head in a sort of intelligent way, but don't let it eat you away, because that's when they win.
Yeah. Did you feel, was there catharsis in writing the book? Like, do you think part of that process is what has allowed you to like let go of so many of these experiences now? These experiences that might have been eating away at you, traumatizing you, upsetting you, now that they're in print and they're out there, and did that feel like it was kind of exercising it from you a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 48 now, and I've kind of felt like I'd reached my final form. I feel like I have another form now. I definitely feel like a slightly different person since I've released the book, and it's in a good way. It's been very cleansing, and it does feel like the end of a chapter in a way. I don't plan to do anything different in the future. I'm still going to act, I'm still going to DJ, I'm still going to do music, but it definitely feels like another chapter starting.
I love it.
Yeah, but it has been very cathartic, very cathartic.
Speaking of new chapters, let's talk about the show on everyone's lips. Our flag means fucking death, okay? Let's talk about our flag for a sec, because that's where we met.
That's where we met.
That's where we fell deeply in love.
I know.
Oh my God. Me and Kristian met within seconds. My boyfriend is Northern Irish. Within seconds, there's a joke about Northern Ireland. It's like so small and everyone knows each other. My boyfriend is, I think, 40 years younger than you. And that makes it sound like I'm dating a child. Never mind, the joke came back on me.
I'm happy that you have that, actually. Yeah.
But we established within seconds that Kristian had gone to the exact same school as my boyfriend, because Northern Ireland is this big. But we met during the filming of a little TV show called Our Flag Means Death. I want to know, you talk in the book about how special it was to do that show after you'd spent so many years as a TV legend in Game of Thrones, but you'd only ever said that one word.
Yes.
Which is amazing. I actually, when I first met, I'd never watched Game of Thrones, I'll be honest, and I watched a compilation of Kristian on Game of Thrones when I first met him, because I was like, who is this bitch? Why does he get recognized everywhere we go? I don't know what this is. Watched a compilation of Game of Thrones. I cried, okay? I cried at the death. It's so iconic, Kristian. So you'd been known for that thing for so long. You're then in Our Flag. You suddenly have a character with lines, dialogue. You know, you get storylines. Talk about that. What was that like for you? Was that daunting?
What was the first day we met? First of all, was it the day on the stunt mats, or was it the day on the boat?
Fuck, I think it was the stunt mats.
Yeah.
So we did a day of stunt training stunt training. I'll put both of those words in huge, huge air quotes.
I thought we were just looking at each other going like,
They were remember when they made us do forward rolls? And I was like,
my hair?
I'm not in Cirque du Soleil, honey. I'm not going over my neck. not for my overlords at HBO Max. Home box office maximum, I assume.
Yeah, I think that was the first day.
Fuck. I cringe when I think about that now.
I know.
God love us.
Yeah, and then we did the pirate training on the boat, which...
Hell on earth.
Hell on earth.
No, it was amazing, and we love
Just very bad at it. We're very, very bad at it. You might be better than I was.
Which I think actually kind of ended up working its way into the fabric of the show. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How bad we were at it. It was
Yeah,
kind of
totally.
the point of it.
But yes...
How did it feel to suddenly... You weren't just Hodor. There, I said it once. Say it for everyone one time. Come on.
No. No door.
So...
But yeah...
You'd been Hodor for that long. People were so iconically known.
I feel I was still being tested because I'd only done that. I'd done other stuff, obviously, but in the real public eye, I'd only ever done that big role and only had that one word. So even after I'd done all this and traveled the world 600 times, I still feel like I was being tested because it was new. And that's why I was a little unsure. And also, they made some changes to the Finney's characters because of, as we know, I had a big brother in the show, which didn't make it into the cut. Or not even into the cut, he didn't make it on the set, sadly. So the characters were changed, and it turned out that Wee John was kind of an amalgamation of the two brothers. So that was a little confusing at the start for me. But yeah, it's just nice to have more words to express myself with, because I have plenty in real life.
Yeah,
obviously.
You never shut the fat hell up. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it was a new challenge, and I really enjoyed it. I love the character, especially in season 2. I really felt like I got it in season 2, for me.
Well, I think what was sort of amazing, actually, was seeing you do it. You were already so well known. You'd filmed hours and hours and hours of television, and yet what I actually found really so relatable about you is that you were nervous. You know, I remember you being nervous because it was, as you say, it was a different challenge for you. Like, Game of Thrones was a huge challenge in its own way, but...
What about you? Do you not get nervous before your performances?
Oh my God, I mean 100%. I
Yeah.
mean, I barely remember filming the first half of season 1 of Our Flag Means Death. I was in an absolute blackout of panic the entire time.
Yeah, and even before I do this, I'm nervous. When I do shows, like I just promoted the book in New York, and I was doing the breakfast shows, and they're like, "So, what makes you nervous?" And I'm like, "Well, this.
Yeah.
This makes me nervous."
Yeah, bitch.
But it's all about, for me, I think I've learned how to ride the adrenaline. I've tried to ride the nerves, because they actually make you perform better, especially in music.
Yeah.
For me, I'm always nervous. I've been DJing for 30 years, and every time, I'm still like that before it.
Yeah, of course. and as you say, it's like DJing is like where you feel most at home. But like also the fact that you still feel those nerves means that it still matters to you.
Yeah.
You know?
It totally matters. I want people to enjoy themselves as well. That's the thing. While being a complete music snob that I am, but I still want people to enjoy themselves. So it's kind of finding a balance between the two.
I love it. We're going to take audience questions in a couple of minutes. So if you have a question, get lined up at the mic. And I'm going to do one final question for Kristian. Kristian, I want to talk about mummies.
Oh.
I want to talk about mums because it's a shared interest we both have.
Yeah, we do.
Kristian, your mum is a huge character in the book.
Yes.
I think I've spoke to your mum on FaceTime before.
Oh, many times.
She's a formidable lady.
She is formidable.
She is fucking formidable. You refer to her in the book as a guardian angel.
Yeah.
Has your mum read the book?
No.
No?
Because she was there throughout the entire process, and I ran everything by her. She read all the drafts. She hasn't read the final copy. She doesn't feel that she needs to. I think she might listen to the audiobook.
Yeah.
But she knows every word that's gone into that book.
Yeah, she's like, I was there, bitch.
Yeah, oh yeah, she definitely was.
Yeah.
And a lot more besides.
Did you have to? Because I think one of the main things that Kristian and I have in common is we're both. I think it was one of the things we clicked on quite early on is that we're both big gay mummies boys.
Yeah.
Did she ever feel? Did you have to have a chat with her about the book, like in order to help her not feel exposed? Did you have a talk about what you would and wouldn't include and things like that?
Yes, I did. And I mean, I didn't put everything in there. You know, I did edit it, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But she was always behind me, telling the truth, and although that was part of her truth as well, she was always behind me. She's always been behind me, and she. I don't want to get emotional, but she's amazing. I wouldn't be who I am without her. She's still she had a head injury a few years ago. She's slightly different than she was, but 99%. She's in some ways she's happier. She's funnier. She's quicker to laugh than she used to be. Used to be far meaner, actually. But
the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, totally. That's where I get it from. But she's just the most amazing woman, and I'm just so grateful for her.
It's remarkable stuff. The part to go from this woman, I'm gonna get emotional now. To go from this woman sewing your fucking drag clothes
I know.
for you.
And that's in our Flag Means Death. Even when I did that comment about making clothes for my mother, that was a direct inversion of what really happened.
It's remarkable. And now you're able, through your international superstardom, come on, you're able to give her such a beautiful life.
Well, that's what she deserves.
Come on, we're both getting teary-eyed up here. Okay, fine, let's fucking open up to you guys, why not? Let's do some audience questions, please, down here at the front.
Sorry, that was the ubiquitous "is it on" moment.
Yeah, of course. Hi, darling.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Thank you so much, both of you. Something you said really chimed for me, which was that your father didn't deserve to know who you were, which is a situation I'm very familiar with. My parents don't know that I'm queer. They don't know an awful lot about my life because it would be like going up to someone at the bus stop and saying, "Hi, I'm queer," which is more likely. But what I was going to say was, how do you seem very equal to that and very kind of cool with it. I have been and still am sometimes quite angry about how I was treated, and I was wondering if you've been through that arc and how you get to a point where you're not carrying it.
I am still carrying it. I definitely do. I just feel that my mum was such a strong parental figure and gave me everything. I'm a grandmother, by the way. My grandmother was almost like my father figure in a way. I just had these two amazing women, and almost for a while to seek him out would have felt a bit disrespectful in a way. Although they never stopped me, they never wanted me. If I wanted to, I could have done it anytime. In the book I mentioned that. But it just felt like, you've given me everything I need. This guy lives down the road, doesn't want anything to do with me, clearly. Then what do I need from him now? You're a fully formed person. And no matter what he fucking does now, or they do, you're not going to change. And you're amazing the way you are. So what the fuck are they going to give to you now? You know, they don't deserve you. They don't deserve us to carry that.
But I had to spend a lot on therapy to get there, and you just seem to have kind of...
Oh, no. Oh, no. There are many drugs involved on the path. And that's one of the reasons why I went down that path.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't need to go down that path with hindsight. And I wish I hadn't. But you know what? Now because I move in these circles with people who do party, and I would never do it again. And I'm almost glad that I had that small time. Well, I didn't have any money back then, and I somehow managed to run up a £60,000 debt. So imagine what I would do now, but like the national debt.
But we all try and find some kind of
Exactly.
dissociative
You need a crutch.
behaviour
Yeah, I just needed to get away from that headspace.
to blunt.
But I think head on is sometimes the best way, and not to hide from it if you can. I don't think you are hiding from it. You're not that type of person, surely. I don't think you are. From what I know about you, I mean, so yeah, just they don't deserve you to carry that around.
No.
Snaps for that. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
question. Beautiful. Next question, please. And make it
Should
great.
have worn my cheetah skin today.
Something much less serious this time. So I saw your photo yesterday with Dogpool, which was amazing. And I know you've worked with animals a few times. I know you had the dire wolves in Game of Thrones. You had Nathan in Our Flag. I don't know if you had...
You motherfucker.
I don't know if you got to meet Ned in Our Flag, but I want to know, have you got any particular difficult experiences or funny experiences working with animals?
Yes.
Catch me at my next autograph table, bitch. You're out. You're done. No, I'm joking.
It was in Game of Thrones, actually. It was in the cave where the ravens were, and the three-eyed raven. And one of the things they say is, these ravens are very well trained, but they're not friendly. So don't hug one. I mean, I've never had an urge to hug a raven, but anyway, if it lands on your head, we were given, because they were just flying around, and they were landing on things, and if it lands on your head, the instructions were, be perfectly still, close your eyes, because they will pick your fucking eyes out, and just wait for the handler. So I said, it's not going to happen to me.
As if you're just going to stand there calmly and wait for the handler.
I know. So 2 seconds after that,
cracked.
it was like the clacker board went down, and action. The first raven, right on top of my head, first one, and my reaction was, I think I hit it with my hand and everything, and there's feathers flying, and I was just like,
What was that, yeah.
yeah, I just couldn't help myself. So that is my interaction with a raven.
I've never worked with an animal I wasn't repulsed by. I just want to say that. Every animal on Our Flag Means Death can go fuck itself. I was so scared of all of them. Thank you so much for your question.
I've also been attacked by a Shetland pony.
Don't talk about your mother like that.
Oh.
Hi, gorgeous. How are you?
Great, you?
Yeah,
Hello.
great. How are you, Kristian?
I'm fine.
What's your question?
So I was wondering, Kristian, what was your favourite part when you were writing a book? And Nathan, what was your favourite part whilst reading it?
Okay, I'm
Or
just
the
gonna
most
run
interesting.
backstage and finish it quickly, and then I'll answer the question. But Kristian, favorite part writing it?
Well, actually, weirdly, one of the hardest parts was, you didn't ask me that, but I'm going to tell you anyway, was putting the thank yous in at the back. There's so many in there, and I got so paranoid and in my head about it that I was like texting friends going, I forgot to put you in there. And there was about 10 different drafts of that, and it made me absolutely crazy.
Only the most attractive people you know made it into the thank you.
And something I had to gain. No, that's not the truth. Favorite part to write about? I liked writing about all the old drag stuff. It brought back a lot of memories, and it sort of cemented how important it was for me. So I enjoyed all the part. And just talking about Belfast as well, because I love Belfast. And all its weird idiosyncrasies and all the weird, shitty stuff that's happened in the past. It's kind of made the people who they are, and I love that. I love Belfast. So getting to put my love of Belfast in a book, I feel honoured.
It's beautiful. Oh, my favorite part of reading it. I mean, you are right. All of the drag stuff does really leap off the page. It's so amazing to hear about this like kind of underground scene as well, because the drag that you were doing was like pretty fucking alternative as well. You were doing like alternative punk rock. It's like gothy, amazing drag, and to hear about that, it's a world I know absolutely nothing about. So that was really, really remarkable. And I did love everything about your mum, because I'm obsessed with mums and gay men and their mums. And I just thought it was so beautiful. And you can see your love for her just like bleeds off the page. It's so stunning. Ugh, vomit. Okay, next question. Thank you, babe.
Probably never be nice to each other again.
Yeah, after this, it's done. I'm gonna murder him backstage. Hi, babe.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
That was actually my question as well.
No! Think of another one.
But could you tell me more about like your sort of writing process and what you enjoyed maybe in that experience as well?
it was my first book. I did get a little help with the putting everything together because I'm not. I mean, it was my first book.
It's called having an editor.
Yeah. My room looked like a serial killer's bedroom. Like it had different stories like drawn together with rope and little pieces of string. Because this is not. I can't keep things in here. You know, my memory is terrible. So.
I've acted with you, babe.
Yeah,
I know.
I know. But yeah, it was like all these timelines put together. So that's how I did it. I had to have like a visual representation because I kept forgetting. So yeah, one of the most fun things was with the memories. You think, I'm never going to remember everything, especially me. But when you have one memory, it leads to the next memory, and then it just goes like dominoes. It's lovely. It puts you into little, I call them oubliettes in your brain, with little forgotten cells of information. So I enjoyed that part of it, and that's how I did it.
Oubliette.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, darling. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
I'd like to ask, as a person who does acting myself, how hard is it for you to let go of parts that you maybe worked on for years?
Yeah, like, I mean, you've played this character for a long time.
Yeah.
It's sad, especially with Game of Thrones. I thought I would be happy to see the back of Hodor because it had been 6-7 years of my life and it was really hard work. But I remember taking the costume off for the last time and smelling that smell for the last time. It was really smelly costume. But anyway, I cried. I was like, I felt like I'm never going to see this costume again. I'm never going to put it on again in the same way. And it made me very sad. Wee John, I don't feel like I'm finished with Wee John. And that's an interesting feeling.
Yeah, it's weird when I feel like the difference is with Game of Thrones, you knew your goodbye was coming.
Yeah.
You got to say a proper end to the character, whereas obviously we didn't quite know our goodbye was coming. You never know when your goodbye is coming in TV, and it's.
And I also feel like with our characters, even your character as well, there's so much we could have done to develop it, and
a wife
and
children.
With Hodor, I feel like I'd reached the end. Obviously, he fucking died. That's an end, you know.
What?
I know. Spoiler alert. But yeah, with Wee John, I don't feel. I still feel a little bit raw about that.
I feel the same when I have to say goodbye to a character. You always think, I would love to just have that one more night with that person.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hard relate. R.I.P. Thank you very much for your question. One last question here, and then I, of course, have one final one to send us all home with.
Hi, it's
Hi,
lovely
Gord.
to see you here.
You too.
Because you touched on a drag in your book, which is fascinating. But what I wanted to know is when you were Wee John doing Calypso, how did it feel to be back in drag after such a long time?
Fabulous question.
It was amazing. I mean, working with Gypsy on the costume. Gypsy's incredible, isn't she?
She's an absolute icon. I mean, you've had her on Ouija on Wednesdays, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she's
Yes.
an absolute legend, Gypsy.
And oh yeah, and she really got it down perfectly. It's exactly how I imagined it. It's very different drag style to what I would do, but I loved it. Just the Ursula vibes were real, and
That was amazing, yeah.
I still have the tits and ass. So I mean, not.
They were models though. So, yeah.
But they're in my changing room at home. So if I ever felt the urge to get the hips on, I will do drag again in the future. I know I will.
Yes!
But I think now that my own personal style has developed, I used to be able to put like my shoes are made from floor tiles, and like it was all DIY. Like half my outfit was from B&Q. That's true. And I would do it differently now. So
you've got it, Kristian.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm definitely going to do it. And my beard's getting shorter and shorter. So when that beard disappears, you'll see something happen.
Oh my God, keep your eyes peeled.
Watch
Thank you
this
so
space,
much.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
babe. That was amazing. Give yourselves a round of applause for those questions.
You guys,
Everything.
thank you so much.
Kristian, I have one final question for you.
And this is the one I'm terrified of, yes?
Well, I just want to, obviously, I'm not sure if this is being live streamed or not, but everything we discuss in here definitely stays in the room. I wouldn't want any of this getting out to the papers, but I do feel like I need to ask it. I do feel like I need to share my story. Okay? Kristian, are you ready? No. Okay. Kristian. Last January, in the middle of the night, I was violently jolted from my sleep to find you towering over my bed with an AK-47 aimed squarely between my eyes. You are famously pro-firearm, so the gun didn't shock me. However, when I asked what you were doing in my bedroom, you simply and ominously responded, walk. To where, I asked. You know where, F-word, came your response. Not my words, yours. You proceeded to frog march me into the back of a van, where two balaclavaed men beat me to a fine puree and drove me onto a ferry, crossing me over to Northern Ireland, the backwards land of your birth. Once there, you chained me to a desk in your home, like that one film where that woman chains that man to a desk. When I asked, through swallowed teeth and swollen lips, what you wanted from me, you monosyllabically responded, book. And honey, I knew what needed to be done. I spent 6 months enduring ritual beatings at the hands of you and your mother, my legs atrophying from lack of use and somehow growing even skinnier through malnutrition. Every day I produce page after agonizing page of material for your memoir, filling in copious blanks because I don't listen when you talk. No matter how hard I wrote, it wasn't good enough, despite my immense talent and stacked CV. You regularly read passages and used them as toilet paper in front of me, giving yourself weapons-grade pink eye in the process. Eventually, I chewed through the bindings on my wrist like a feral but very attractive cat. I left a copy of Charlotte Church's 1999 memoir, Voice of an Angel, on the desk and escaped under the cover of night, selling my virgin whole to truckers who smuggled me back to the UK. Of course, the implication is here, ultimately, that your memoir is word for word the same as Charlotte Church's 1999 memoir, Voice of an Angel. And my question is, how do you sleep at night?
It was a Kalashnikov, not an AK-47.
Folks, please put your hands together for the woman of the moment, author of Beyond the Throne, Kristian Nairn!